There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
Yes, hello and welcome here to Radio 99.3 FM. This is Media Mothership broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania.
I like how you say it like Edge Radio Studios, like that's what it's called. It's not. It's just Edge Radio.
Well, the thing about saying it's Edge Radio Studios makes it appear as if it's part of a media workshop.
Yeah, I know.
Like the studios. We're in Studio A.
Yeah, exactly.
In Edge Radio Complex. And we're exploring on Media Mothership, as always, how media shapes our understanding of the world around us. How it gets it to kind of explain places we've never been to.
Yep.
So if you've only ever watched Japanese cartoons...
Like you have.
You might have a really skewed vision of what Japan might be like.
Yeah.
So today's episode, we're going to be jumping into that idea of how media particularly portrays Asia.
Yep.
Before we go there, though, as always, we're streaming on edgeradio.org.au as well as on YouTube and Twitch. You can find us just by searching Media Mothership, as well as we're on the DAB.
You always say that, and no one outside of radio knows what a DAB is.
If you're on the DAB, the Digital Audio Broadcasting System...
if you're on the DAB, you don't know what the DAB is.
Message us on SMS directly into the studio.
04888 11707.
And one of our program team members will get your message and pass it on to us. Yep. I'm your host, Dr. Craig.
Oh,
Morris,
we're going for the doctor now.
PhD, joined by Lord Taylor Lidston. Does the
MA.
Lord, MA.
Yeah.
MA. So it's like Doctor Who. I'm Doctor Who, you're the master.
Oh, I'm happy with that.
Yes. You'd be an interesting iteration of that.
Thank you.
Today's topic, we're also joined by our guest, Phoebe. Hey, Phoebe.
Hi, Reed.
Excellent. So Phoebe's here as a kind of litmus paper test, because as we said...
As a litmus
paper test. Well, just to help us stay on topic, because we're talking about the representation of Asia.
Yeah.
So she's going to flag us when we ourselves are committing Orientalist tropes.
Yeah.
In our
when
analysis.
we get problematic.
Yeah, which is pretty much going to start now.
Yeah.
So
starting now.
Look, the direction I wanted to take the show in, because both of us have found that we're enjoying Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
So it's a video game. It's been out for 4 or 5 years now. Mm-hmm. I've only just picked it up. It's set in a future Earth in the year 2077. It's part of a bigger, franchise called Cyberpunk. Right? Started off as a role-playing game. Of course, before then you had Gibson's book Neuromancer and so forth. But this vision of Cyberpunk 2077 is very much a Western view of a failed state environment where big mega companies now rule and everyone's getting implants and becoming half cyborgs.
Yeah.
The thing that
it reminds me a lot of Big Hero 6, actually.
Like the animated series, right?
Yeah, like where they've got the mixture between, I can't remember what it's called, something New Tokyo or something like that.
Yep.
Mixture of Western and Eastern sort of things.
Yeah, and it's that's what really interested me, the view of Asia that's coming out of that game. And we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But this week, what I wanted to do was think about
something more boring. Yeah.
No, what are the roots? What's the history of that link? And as you know, on this show, we do a lot of deep dives into classic Golden Age radio. You were about to say something, though?
I was just going to riff on the fact that it's not a Golden Age, but sure.
So what we're going to do is I thought I'd try to find a classic radio drama which is in conversation with Asia. All right. So I found what many people regard as one of the legendary radio dramas from the 30s and 40s, which is The Shadow. So many people might not be familiar with The Shadow, but it really was an immensely popular show, and then became a magazine and a comic book series. Movie played with Alec Baldwin in the early 90s was something some people saw. Many people see The Shadow as a precursor to Batman. He shares many similarities. He's a kind of stealth-based hero, vigilante justice. He gets trained in the Orient to first develop his skills. And he comes back with this kind of, not necessarily for The Shadow mixed martial arts vibe, but this kind of mystical training.
Like Johnny English.
Oh, is that the character that's played by...
Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah,
That's a deep cut.
Johnny English Reborn, he goes to, looks like somewhere in Nepal, and trains with the monks there.
Yeah, it's that trope. It's that trope we're looking
You
at.
remember that, don't you?
So it is that trope of the Westerner, particularly the Western man, going to Asia, getting trained up in some kind of
Like Doctor
skills.
Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah. I mean, it's full of these conventions. And The Shadow is considered one of the earliest examples of that trope, of the person going to Asia, being trained up and coming back with this mysterious Asian power. So we're going to break that apart a bit and have a look at what's it doing through a specific episode called the Temple Bells of Neban, which is the 5th episode. Neban. Before we do that, I've collected a couple of audio pieces which kind of unpack why The Shadow is interesting to look at. Just for those that maybe have never had the pleasure of listening to the Shadow series, it first aired in 1937 and went all the way through to 1954, so it's an incredibly long-running series. It had a number of lead actors that took the role of the Shadow. Probably the most well-known one is Orson Welles, who played that role really early on in his career, before he did Citizen Kane, which many people regard as the perfect movie, the best movie ever made. Anyway, before he got to that height, he appeared as the Shadow very much to entrench himself in the American popular imagination, because the Shadow was just so huge as a figure. So it's a mystery, crime, a little bit supernatural series, although the Shadow character himself always explains his skills as being rational, even though they sound like an invisibility skill. Because the main thing the Shadow is able to do is not only crime fight as a vigilante, but he has this power to cloud men's minds, which means they just don't see him, right? And he has this big black trench coat and a red scarf and this huge black hat.
So how does he rationally explain that?
Well, we'll hear this. This episode we're about to hear, or we'll hear halfway through the episode, is a origin story. Mm-hmm. So, and it's all through this Asian training that he attained. What many people know of the Shadow is the opening spiel that he does, or the narrator does, which says, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men, the Shadow knows. Maniacal laughter. And it was...
Wait, so I've heard, like, at the start of some sort of song, I think it was, there's like a... Oh no, it was at the start of a movie where they say, if there is evil in this world, it lurks within the hearts of man. Isn't that?
Could have come from that. I mean, again, this was the slogan which launched the Shadow. In fact, that slogan used to appear on on a kind of compilation radio drama series that he did. It became so well known that then it spun off to his own show, The Shadow. So it's very much considered the kind of slogan that launched the Shadow into the popular imagining of America. He has a loyal companion, Margot Lane.
Yeah.
Right? So kind of sidekick, female character. And the Shadow basically takes on gangsters, mad scientists, all typical pulp villain antagonists. So he has powers of hypnosis, invisibility.
Well, how does he explain that away then?
Well, he says it's just his skill of being able to throw his voice. so he has this ability through his
Right.
voice.
Okay.
He does have a ring, right? And as part of his kind of costume. He has this ring which is meant to have some kind of power. But again, the idea here is that as this Orientalist vibe sets up, he's also a kind of, rational Westerner engaging with a mysterious Asia.
Yeah.
Right? So he got these skills from mysterious Asia, but as a rational Westerner, he's able to perfect them through his rationalism.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So it's very much that kind of Orientalist trope. So we'll break down some of these type of Orientalist narratives in this famous, crime pulp hero drama series, The
Shadow.
Before we go, should we have a little musical interlude?
Yep.
Phoebe, you're on music duty today. That's fantastic.
Well, that's
Thank
so
you,
much
Phoebe.
better than what you've done in
Probably
the
the
past.
best, most talented music we've played on that. It's amazing what that thing's capable of. Wow.
Wow.
Gee. Okay, so
Just go home now?
Getting on with the show. All right, so I want to play a short excerpt from a radio drama documentary that covers the history of a famous radio drama guy, Hyman Brown. In episode 4, they talk about the impact of the shadow. So, sorry, hold on, let me just cue it up.
You can't do this on air.
No, it builds suspense, just like
Okay.
the shadow.
Oh, God.
All right.
Okay. Here we go.
On a night like this, Vance, no Washington assignment for me, no ridiculous detecting for you. Oh, I love it.
It's a great Harmon organ.
And
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, The Shadow, the show my mother starred in. It was adapted from a series of pulp novels written by Walter Gibson. In the storyline, wealthy playboy Lamont Cranston has traveled to the mysterious East. Old-time radio was filled with cringe-making tropes like this. There, he encounters a mystic who teaches him
The hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so they cannot see him.
this is useful if you decide to set up as a crime fighter. The Shadow reveals himself to lowlifes with a menacing laugh.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
The show had a number of false starts with different actors, but established itself with the casting of Orson Welles as the main character, Cranston, and his mind-penetrating alter ego. My mother's role, have I made mention of this before? Was the lovely Margot Lane, the attractive confidant of the Playboy.
Are those the 3 men you told me about?
Yes, Margot.
They look like gangsters, all right.
They are, and usually mortal enemies, but tonight it looks very much as if they're banding together.
I wonder
I
why.
imagine because they're afraid of me.
Of you? Then why do you come here and expose
They're
yourself?
only afraid of me as the shadow. I do not know Lamont Cranston.
Oh, who are they?
Mom knew Wells already. They both toured with the successful production of The Barretts of Wimpole Street. They were buddies. They were friends. She thought highly of him and also sort of giggled at him a lot because she thought he was very full of himself. But Mom wasn't the first Margot Lane, although the character was.
All right, so as that sets up, it's a character based in Pulp Fiction, became immensely popular. There was a documentary series done on the Shadow, and we'll listen to some excerpts from here as the cast and key production talent of The Shadow kind of break down what the series did that made it so influential. Oh, just cute. Oh, gone too far. Hold on.
Have succeeded in the media of the imagination.
It's tricky with this
He
small
was-
little mobile phone. Oh, goddamn.
The Shadow.
All right, hold on.
Is from Maine to California. The Shadow endures today as the dominant symbol of mystery drama during radio's golden age in the 30s, 40s, and early 1950s.
2 years ago, I was in the hospital for an operation. And the resident doctor, a young resident, came running up to my room to meet me because he knew that I had been associated with the Shadow, which everybody knows. I mean, they may not have heard anything else about radio, but everybody knows the Shadow.
It could never have succeeded in television. it was the marvelous thing of what people conjured up in their minds. And they could see the shadow, and they could see Margot and so forth. I think it would have been a terribly dull television program.
What creative forces molded the Shadow's tremendous popularity? Why, after nearly 60 years, is the program not only remembered fondly, but still being aired on many radio stations across the nation? Who were the people that shaped the character's success? We'll take an in-depth look.
So they'll break down then what the key aspects of the Shadow are. But what I want to jump to, there's a couple of really interesting parts. The whole documentary goes about an hour. And we'll put the link to it in the show notes. But there's a couple of aspects to it which are really fascinating. Here's one little clip about the struggle of doing radio because it sounds so corny when you listen back to it, particularly today. So, of course, we mainly engage with storytelling through movies and TV. One of the difficulties, one of the challenges of doing audio-only storytelling is you have to sometimes over-explain what's happening because the audience can't see it. So it's like, there's a snake coming straight for me, and it's being lifted from the crates. Then the hand's coming down now. So there's a nice little section here where they talk about how dated listening to episodes are from The Shadow. We'll have a listen to the episode shortly, but it's interesting that even the voice actors, when they hear it back now, kind of cringe or recognize how
the program
corny it is.
Demonstrating the caring, the concern a true star often feels for the success of his enterprise.
The people looked the way you wanted them to look. The places looked the way you imagined them. And now with television, it's a fait accompli. I mean, you accept it, and if you don't like it, you turn it off and go to something else. But that was the beauty of radio. It helped to stimulate the imagination. And in comparison, now they sound very corny when you listen to some of these old shows, because we've made such tremendous strides technically and also performance-wise. In radio, everything had to be spelled out in large capital letters so that, I've got you covered with this gun, so that it was clear to the audience what was happening, which today makes it seem kind of corny. But that was the beauty of radio, and that's the thing that I think is missing in our entertainment today.
It's interesting also that point when you're at a disruptive media technology moment. So here we have people trained and made their professional career in radio, bemoaning what's been lost because of the popularity now of television.
Yeah.
Right. So of course this was recorded in like the 60s and 70s. This documentary, and they're talking about what it was like creating audio, which they say was better because it had to be more imaginative. You had to do that theater of the mind work and effort to visualize.
So with the advent of TikTok, what have we lost?
Well, exactly. Now we have similar bemoaning of what we've lost from, I'd say, AI, right? People saying, we're becoming dumber because we're relying too much on AI. And when entertainment is generated through AI, it's a lesser quality product than when I worked in media before AI, where it was all human creativity. Similar thing happening now, I think, in terms of disruptive technology of AI causing people, particularly those that established their professional careers pre-AI, to say, we're losing out.
That just reminds me of when I talked about, what was it? Studygate, or whatever it was.
Ah, yes.
And that had all of the professional, what's it called, where you've got read by other people?
Peer-reviewed.
Peer-reviewed.
Yeah. Episode AI. 87.
Yeah.
Listen back.
ChatGPT found in heaps of them.
I have fantasies of time traveling with ChatGPT, going back in time and just being a sensation. Anyway, that's my own fan fiction I'll be doing later with ChatGPT. All right.
I'd just like to say to the person who's on Twitch, and it said,
right, we've got some comments.
And they've given me a message. I've received the message, but I'm not going to read it out.
Wow. All right. So thank you always for audience engagement. Please keep it coming.
Thank you, Nathan. Or Big Nate, as he's known.
Nate. All right. Thanks, Big Nate. All right, so the next little segment I want to play is the cast of The Shadow talking about when the fan audience of The Shadow started to blur reality and fiction.
Okay.
So as we do in this show, we often look at moments where media blurs reality, where people understand reality through media. And it's amusing that, there are moments where that confusion gets really, even for superhero characters, where you think this is just pulp fiction superheroes. Surely no one thinks it's real. It's a fun little comment here where they say, no, some people thought it was real.
Okay.
With the Shadow as host prior to his becoming the central character. Of the 700 programs that featured Lamont Cranston, about 200 are known to have survived, and of these, around 100 are available commercially on disc. The 200 programs in circulation, either commercially or traded among collectors, are fairly evenly divided between performers.
Oh, sorry, that wasn't the clip. Let me go back and find it. Hold on.
Nice.
Yeah.
They're able to drop on their lives.
Recently, Grace Matthews recalled how she felt auditioning for the part of Margot Lane in 1946.
I was so
Hold on. It's so difficult to keep things up on here. Jeez. Okay.
But he also had the power of Orson Welles.
For several years in the mid-40s, the Shadow program originated before a live theater audience. Brett Morrison, typically, went the extra mile. In scenes where Cranston became the Shadow, and solely for the benefit of the theater audience, as the radio audience could not see him, Morrison would don his own cape and slouch hat to match the appearance of the Shadow as he was depicted in the Shadow magazine. In preparing this program, we talked with more than a dozen of Morrison's contemporaries on the Shadow. Not one had anything but praise for this fine actor.
This is quite amazing, but you'd be surprised how many adults actually thought that Lamont Cranston was a true character who had the power to make himself invisible. Because toward the end of the program, or somewhere around, I think, when we were in Korea, we would receive letters. I'd receive letters, people saying, we think it's a crime that you're keeping the Shadow here when he could be spying for our country, against...
Really?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's really fantastic. I had no idea
Isn't that amazing?
That I've seen this happen, identity happen in daytime radio, with characters. They think they actually exist.
Yes.
And it's, I don't know how they correlate the time element, that at a certain time they're able to eavesdrop on their lives.
Recently, Grace...
It's an interesting point that during the Korean War, when the Shadow was broadcasting, there were messages coming through, letters from fans saying, it's a crime that the shadow person isn't over in Korea helping to win the war by using his powers to spy on the enemy. Forgetting this is a fictional character, right? I've heard this in terms of superhero movies during World War II, certainly DC, for instance, never engaged with stories of fighting the Nazis. There's no episodes where Superman or Wonder Woman, the DC heroes, fought the Nazis or the Japanese enemy because they didn't want to diminish the real struggle that real people were facing in the war. That if you've got someone as superpowered as Superman, yes, he would finish the war. But obviously we can't, in our fictional story, have the war ending when, GIs are going out dying every day to win this. So instead, they just didn't have storytelling about the fantasy power of Superman. Here, on the other hand, you have fans then saying, well, why don't you send Superman over there to beat Hitler? Because, we really need everything, forgetting it's a fictional character, like the Shadow. The last little segment I want to play it's really fascinating. Like, we think about toxic fandom as a modern problem, right? Like George R.R. Martin constantly getting hassled by fans to release his show, his final episode, final story. there's a great segment here where they talk about the toxic fandom that they've experienced themselves in their professional careers on The Shadow. And it's very similar to, in fact, it seems worse than the problems that we're facing today, particularly the types of toxic behavior of fans towards the female cast members.
These, Court was going, he was away over most all weekends. He went up to Canada to do the Imperial Oil hockey broadcast, and he'd leave on Friday night and come back Monday morning. And of course the Shadow was on Sunday, so, you know, I was there alone. And I get these kids who would phone up, and really, at first it was kind of fun. They'd say, "Oh, Marco, we'll meet you in the cemetery," or something like this. But then finally it got a bit scary. And then they would come around to our apartment and left signs all over with kind of nasty words and stuff. It was just, it got too much, you know. But mostly, the mail was marvelous. It was a great response. I don't know, I mean, you certainly, a daytime soap, you got a lot of male soap. But I think it was equally as big.
Miss Matthews recalls...
So there we go, that toxicity that faces many fans towards even stars from the golden age of radio in the 30s, 40s. All right, so short interlude with some music. Nice. So we're back now. And let's jump into an episode. So we've kind of set up what The Shadow's all about. Crime fighter, immensely popular series. Some people confused him actually being a real person with great powers. I want to jump now into Season 1, Episode 5, with Orson Welles playing the main role of The Shadow. And it's an episode called The Temple Bells of Neban. First aired October 21st, 1937. It has an entry in TV tropes, right? The key tropes that are in this episode is anti-magic, the Temple Bells of Neban, the title of the show. They're actually a charm possessed by the antagonist, Sadi, and it allows her to defeat the mystical powers of the Shadow. Mm-hmm. Right, that's the first trope. The second trope is drugs are bad. Right? Because the whole narrative hinges on a heroin drug ring, right? And it's incredible to me to think there's a 1937 radio drama directly addressing heroin drug rings. So it's a heroin drug ring that gets a wealthy capitalist's son addicted, and that draws in the attention of the Shadow to help save the son. It's an origins episode. Mm-hmm. So in this episode, we'll hear how Lamont, the main character, explains to Margot that he learned his powers by studying with an Indian priest, the keeper of the Temple of Cobras in Delhi.
Wow.
So I'm sure that's a thing if we typed into Google Maps. We'd find that. So obviously highly Orientalist there. And Margot suggests that he come out into the open as a crime fighter, which Lamont further explains that he, however, instead operates in the secret as the Shadow for fear that if he did go public, others would learn his secrets that he got from the Temple of Cobras in Delhi and use them for evil. There's also the final trope is the snake charmer trope. Mm-hmm. Again, highly Orientalist trope. The main character, Sadi Ben Ada, is an exotic dancer and snake charmer. So, yeah, very Orientalist, who can use her skills to make a cobra attack. Of course, in this episode, what she doesn't bargain for is that Shadow has, as we'll see in the final twist, small spoiler here, switched out her trained cobra with another one. And she gets bitten and dies. Yeah. So it's a great episode. Basically, again, it's a nefarious drug ring, which is selling dope on the streets of New York. They've made this mistake, though, of ensnaring the son of a VIP, and the VIP's demanding action be taken by the police commissioner to save his rich druggy son.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of origins, some great classics fighting. So what we'll do is we'll break it down in terms of some key motifs, as well as just broadly, before we jump in, this idea of exoticism that's in this episode. So this is really peak 30s Asia exoticism, right? You have this idea of the main antagonist to our rational Western shadow character. The main antagonist is Sadi Ben Ada, right? An exotic female dancer and snake charmer, right? So it's a heavy trope that aligns with this idea of the imaginary Orient. She's also, not just is she a foreigner from India, she's also a mystical person. She's seductive and super dangerous. So again, if anyone's an Edward Said fan, who coined the term Orientalism, they'll know this is the classic thing Said says embodies the Western fantasy of the East as this irrational and sensual object. So Said would argue that the character of Sadi Ben Ada, that we'll listen to in a second, isn't reflecting a real person from Delhi. There's probably no real person from Delhi that's like this character, Sadi Ben Ada, but it's all about Western desire and Western fear that we're seeing. So we'll get into some of the setup of the episode, and I'll interrupt as certain classic Orientalist tropes kick off.
Okay.
So here we go. Let me cue it up. Here we go. Yeah.
Safe, healthy, and economical fuel, then by all means, you can recognize
the promo at the start. Here we go.
The bells, Shadow. The bells of Neban. They will reveal you.
Your third mistake, Sadi. And your last.
No, it is your mistake and your last. This is the end of your career as the Shadow.
So that, of course, was a little bit of a prelude. The female voice there of Adi bin Sada, who's the antagonist, very much the opposite of Lamont, the Shadow. In terms of the Save the Cat setup.
Oh, yeah, talking about Save the Cat.
Okay, we're going to start with the first 30 seconds, which is a classic kind of, we had a kind of a bit of a classic eerie theme there that we're hearing. And we're going to get the theme set up now around the intro. So we'll listen to how they set up the characters of Lamont and Margot Lane, in this normal world. So it starts in the normal world as they're talking to go to a radio drama. A theatre play.
Yeah.
A large evening, couple of hours at the Club Caliph. Does that intrigue you?
Lovely, but not too late. I have an appointment at 10 in the morning at the Women's Club. They're trying to get some action on this terrible narcotic situation.
Yes, I read about that.
Oh, the stuff's being peddled all over town. They found school children using it, society women. Why, it's already caused a half-dozen suicides.
Yes, I know. It's terrible stuff.
Oh, it needs the Shadow to get at the bottom of it.
Yes, I know, dear, but for tonight, I do enjoy just being myself. Lamont Cranston, dilettante. Let's be the Shadow, only in real emergencies. You know, they tell me there's a lovely Indian dancer at this new club, Caliph.
Indian dancer?
Mm-hmm. You know, there's the place just there. Club Caliph, driver.
Yes, sir.
Lamont, you are going to do something about it. You've started already.
Perhaps. Well, here we are. All right, driver. There you are.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that looked like young Jerry Gleason just going in.
Yes? If I was that young man's father, I'd spank him and keep him home occasionally.
Spoiled son of a wealthy sire.
Here, let me have your coat. I'll check it with mine.
Good evening, Jerry.
Oh, hello, Miss Lane.
Your father and sister well? I haven't seen them lately.
Yes. I'm sorry, but I can't wait right now. I've got to see someone, and it's important. I'm sorry.
But, Jerry...
Hello. What ails young Gleason?
I don't know. He seems awfully upset about something. He doesn't look well either. Pale and shaky.
You're right, he doesn't. Something curious about that boy. Well, let's go in.
May I show you to a table, sir?
Take this table by the dance floor, thank you.
Oh, there's someone getting up to speak. We seem to be just in time for the main attraction.
Apparently.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take pleasure in presenting the fascinating and beautiful dancer of the Far East, Sadi Bel Ada. For her first number tonight, she will give you the dance of the cobra, Sadi Bel Ada.
Look, isn't she lovely?
Yes. Real thing, too. Real Hindu. It's odd, you know?
Goodness. Look, she's taking a snake out of that wicker bat.
A live cobra.
Oh, heaven.
You know, the cobra is connected with the old Indian mysticism, the most ancient of magic. See how she quiets the snake, makes it sway to the motion of her hands. It's a form of mesmerism. We've never improved on that with all our modern psychology.
I hope its fangs have been removed.
Well, they undoubtedly have. Oh, this is the one they call Sadi Bel Ada. Jerry Gleason with that strange look in his eyes. An epidemic of narcotic smuggling. Sadi Bel Ada.
Oh, how graceful she is. She keeps looking over here, Lamont.
Yes. It's coming this way. Well.
Souvenir for the beautiful lady, sir.
Oh, a bracelet. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, fair lady.
You know the tongue of Mother India, sir.
Only enough to make a small prayer. Only enough for that, Sadi Bel Ada.
It is good sometimes to know a small prayer.
Just in case of an emergency?
Yes. You are very wise, sir. In case you should meet someone who could destroy you, sir.
I see.
Cela.
Just what did she mean by that?
I don't know exactly. Funny sort of thing. She seems to know something about me. I'm trying to recall where I've seen that face.
So the story keeps building up as there's more revelations of the drug crime that's going on, and turns out that main protagonist there that was introduced, the female mystic Sadi Ben Ada, the snake charmer, is in cahoots with the local port captain, and they're importing all of this heroin into New York and getting wealthy clientele hooked on it and then scamming them for all their money. What's really interesting there is, again, establishing that the protagonist-antagonist tension is built around that Orientalism, right? You have the protagonist, the shadow, the Western trained superhero who went to India to get his skill set, who's here confronted with someone that seems to know what he's about. Never met them, Sadi Ben Ada, but seems to understand and, is the opposite, the antagonist, mystical, seductive, dangerous. You've got this kind of rational West, right? So he's talking about the power of mysticism, the power of the snake charm. Even we in the West have not been able to control this hypnotism because it's this versus this irrational.
Yeah.
Eastern other.
We've got another comment on the Twitch.
Great, yes.
And it says, and I'll let you answer this one. What is the topic of discussion today? I've got this on in the background whilst I play Flight Simulator, and I have no clue what's going on.
We're deep diving into a classic 1930s and 40s golden age of radio drama called The Shadow.
On Edge Radio 99.3 FM.
And we are unpacking how this late 30s episode in particular sets up some really fascinating Oriental images of Asia that were commonplace in the West at that point. Because both of us have been getting into Cyberpunk 2077, and it has the kind of 80s view of the Asian other. So we're looking at what the 1930s Asian other was. So in this case, the antagonist is this kind of, feminine presence. She's irrational. We'll skip to the end where this kind of barbaric Ada is coming into place, because the shadow, of course, is a rational, civilized, masculine figure, whereas Ali bin Laden is an irrational, barbaric, feminine figure. So let's listen to the end as the final conflict occurs. So basically, leading up to this, we've had a series of story beats. If we're breaking this down in terms of Blake Snyder's classic Save the Cat narrative, the theme gets stated there, right? The shadow's power of invisibility and hypnotic suggestion seems to have met its match in Ali bin Laden, right? The snake charmer seems to understand what his power set is. It seems to have a deeper understanding of it, possibly, right? So there's a setup. The catalyst, there's a murder that occurs at the end of Act 1, which then draws the shadow in to try and solve what this murder is about. It's linked to the drug trade that's going on. Then the reveal is that Ali bin Laden.
Bin Laden. I knew you were going to say it. Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden has this necklace that has the Temple Bells of Neban in it, right? It's this twinkle thing that'll basically counter the shadow's ability to become invisible. All right. Again, all kind of mystery as to how that occurs. There's a bit of fun and games. The shadow looks like the bad guys are closing in on him, and how is he going to counteract the power set of the antagonist? All seems to be lost. We hit the dark night of the soul point, where it seems that the shadow won't be able to defeat her because he can't use his normal hidden skill advantage. That he's going to dig deeper to outsmart her. And then we head into this finale where the character of Sada bin Ada is defeated. So let's jump into that now, and we'll have a listen to that, and then we'll break it down in terms of some of the key Orientalist tropes.
No one can get through those, not even a shadow. Save your laugh, whoever you are. We've got you. You're in this cabin somewhere, and this ship is outward bound. Laugh then.
I think you may have made 3 mistakes, Captain. 1 too many.
Yes?
Yes, Captain.
But I do not make mistakes, sir.
That remains to be seen, Sadi Belada.
Then you will see. Hand me the wicker basket, Alex.
Hey, what do you want to do?
Yes, Sadi.
I call the Temple Bells of Neban, Captain. The shadow has the power to blind your eyes, a trick he learned in India from a yogi who was my uncle. But I have a better trick. When the last bell sounds while the sacred cobra dances, you will see the shadow only as a man. Be ready to shoot, Captain.
I'm ready.
And now, my cobra, to dance with the bells of Neban.
I wouldn't open that basket if I were you, Sadi Belada.
You watch my pretty cobra, Sab. He may find you even before the captain's bullets. You would die just as quickly.
Dead cobras, a better plaything than live ones.
Bismillahi Rahmani Rahim. Make your small prayer, Sab. And now, my pretty one, begin to dance.
Be careful, Sadi Bell. The cobra moves toward you.
My own pretty cobra. He knows me. You hear the bells, Shadow? The temple bells of Neban?
I hear them.
When the last bell strikes, we shall see our prisoner.
And I'm waiting for that minute. But Sadi, the cobra! Look out, he's going to strike.
Alexis, jump in!
Quick, drop the basket over Alexis. Kill it! Sadi.
The shadow warned you, Sadi Belada.
You take credit for this too, do you?
No. Sadi should have known it was not her cobra in the wicker basket. It was mine.
He's dead.
What's that? Who is it?
Captain Allen, the police have boarded her.
No, please, Captain Malin, you do not shoot.
Stand back here!
Drop that gun. I'll fix him.
Oh.
All right, and that's not the police breaking into the studio. We're not being taken off air by a sudden interruption of the police, but the end of the 1938 episode of The Shadow called The Temple Bells of Neban. I do like that moment where, I mean, many on the comments for this video of the Temple Bells, many people complained that the character of Sada Ben-Ada is really good. It's a good foil to the Shadow, because again, much like those Orientalist tropes, it's the antithesis. You know, while the Shadow is this rational, masculine figure, here, kind of hyper-rational. Here we have this kind of mystical, seductive, female, dangerous other who can confront him, who can call him out on his mysticism because she's trained in the same stuff and better at it with his snake. So, of course, how does he get around? How does he get around the snake? He uses his rational detective skills to switch out the snake, and she is then bitten by her own hubris, her own feeling that she has power over the snake, to die. Unfortunately, killed off as a villain.
Yeah.
In that episode. Yes. So we have some nice kind of mysticism, heavy appropriation of the Eastern wisdom idea. I reckon you could do a counter reading of that, where instead of like the rise of the colonial oppressed, because obviously here we have the colonial appropriation of knowledge, that the skill of Lamont is that idea that he's gone to India, attained all these skills. The West has absorbed Eastern wisdom, but stripped it of all its context, right, and reduced it down to, just a kind of, in terms of the antagonist, a kind of villainous, backwards character. But you could invert that. She could, triumph for the other, possibly. I mean, it's one of the limitations, I guess, of the Western imagining, that this is very much the Western point of view. Would an Indian story be different, where the Shadow's actually the bad guy?
So at the moment, my mind's just drifting away from what you're saying, because you were talking about East and West, and then that just reminded me of when we were in Japan together.
Oh, okay.
And we had chitsa.
What was chitsa?
That was at KFC.
Ah.
KFC, and we had chicken pizza.
Yes, right.
That's where my mind was going.
Well, look, yeah, I think it's an interesting point in terms of, I think that, okay, so I think that's really a good point to end on.
Yeah.
Because what I find really fascinating is here we have Western stories about Asia, right? So the character of the Shadow is, he refers to India, he refers going to India, becoming mystical. We're introduced to an Indian character, the snake charmer, dance woman, but it's not written from their point of view, right? Then you can have moments where what does that subjective other, in this case India, but in our case Japan, do when it takes the West?
Yeah.
Right? So for the KFC, Western food, they don't treat it as what we would eat in the West. They recombined it, rehybridized it into a chicken pizza.
Chicken pizza. Chitsa.
Yeah. And next week we might get around to it if we have some time, with the idea of Cyberpunk 2077 equally was started as the Western imagining of the rise of power in Asia. So you had a dominant Japanese automobile industry in the 70s. You had a dominant Japanese economy that was in many ways fearful from the West, right? The West was seeing it as a power source that it couldn't triumph against, it seemed, in terms of automobile sales, technology quality, and other things. So they started doing the cyberpunk stuff about what a horrible dystopic world this is headed into. But then you have Akira, Ghost in the Shell, films made in Japan for a Japanese audience, which instead of taking the kind of, we're a kind of subjugated other, recenter it as they're the main characters in that Orientalist fantasy.
Well, that reminds me. What does Vietnam do when the West goes into Vietnam?
Yes.
Yeah.
All these and more.
Because the French go in.
Yep, the colonial period.
And then Vietnam takes the baguettes and the mayonnaise.
Right.
Puts it everywhere, yeah.
So one can have these hybrid cuisine moments. Yeah. Look, and I think food is probably the most constructive globalized consequence. Like the Chico roll in Australia. Anyway, we're going way off topic now.
What is that?
The Chico. You never had a Chico roll, Phoebe?
It's kind of like
it's a spring roll.
Yeah,
but
spring roll, but done in like a more pastry.
Yeah, it's like a combination of a pasty and a spring roll.
Yeah.
Almost. Anyway, way off topic.
Corn jacks are better, actually. And they're filled with corn instead.
So that's a little start in terms of us starting to explore ideas of Orientalism today.
Cyberpunk.
We're going to go into the techno Orientalism in coming weeks. So keep listening to...
Oh, we've got another... Comment, yeah. Not on the actual request line.
Right. Yep, thank you for that. Interesting. So the comment reads, interesting to touch on the cyberpunk theme from the Western and Japanese perspective. Ken. Yes, thank you, Ken. Exactly. So that, I think, is a really rich area where we can see storytelling happening at both ends. Both the Western view of Asia, particularly Japan, in cyberpunk, and then later on we can see the appropriation of that discourse in anime like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, which does something completely different with those same motifs of body modification through technology and the rise of Asian power in multinational companies. The Zaibatsu.
Yep.
All right. Yep. Okay, so we're really at time now. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you found that deep dive into The Shadow interesting. Do listen to The Shadow. It's a fascinating series.
Well,
as the actors themselves said, I mean, maybe falling to sleep to it. Listen to you want to fall asleep to. You're on a long drive. There's some really quality storytelling, but you need to understand it's for audio. So there are those corny moments where they're over-explaining the physicality of it. Like that scene where she's saying, oh, there's a snake coming out of the basket. And you notice how the snake is moving side by side, following the arm distance. So they do
it a lot more better in more modern things. So No.
Oh, yeah.
Like with Big Finish Doctor Who stories.
Yes. Yeah. So the storytelling, has increasingly become more and more effective.
Yes.
All right. That's Media Mothership for another week. Thanks for listening in. Next week, we'll jump into some more stuff.
Cyberpunk.
Thanks again for all those that are commenting. Taylor will decide how to deal with those comments as they come through.
No, I'm not going to respond to that. Probably not. Yeah.
Fantastic. Listen in next week, where research time permitting, we'll dive into techno Orientalism and cyberpunk.
What do you mean research time permitting? I'm 100% talking about it next week.
Okay. Well, there we go. Guaranteed.
I'll play some on air, actually.
This has been Craig Norris for another week, joined by Taylor.
Yeah. Goodbye.
And Phoebe.
Yeah. See ya.
Thank you so much for joining us with your magical kalimba power.
Yep.